How did this story of you becoming the perfect applicant begin? Right now, you're in what's called the status quo. You've grabbed the reader, pulled them into your story, made them care about you, so now you have to get to the facts of your story. The status quo is the part of the narrative essay that tells the reader what your life was like before the challenge or experience that you went through that led to your personal growth and internal change, as we've talked about. It's a second paragraph and comes right after your hook, which we wrote together last time. So it answers the question, how did we get here, by showing the reader what life was like before your hook. Quickly go through the 4 W's, who, what, when, where, if they aren't answered in the hook, and spend a little bit more time on H, how. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of status quo and then we'll write ours together, okay? Here's example number 1. I was at the Robotics State Championship, where my team competed annually in an elaborate fictional game. This year, we were pretending to be stranded in the middle of a lunar sandstorm, with only our wits and our robots to get us out. It was my 6th year of competition, but the stakes had never been higher. 6 weeks before, our sponsor had promised us funding for the next year, but only if we qualified for Worlds. We couldn't afford to make any mistakes, so we worked together like a well-oiled machine. At one point, an ally robot rolled onto one of the big rubber balls and got stuck. We immediately sent our robot to its rescue and used its L-shaped arms to push the friendly robot off the ball and back into the game. Everything was going perfectly, like it was our destiny to make it. So this one basically just places the reader in that championship, in that moment of robotics. It just places us there. Nothing's really happening yet. We're observing the game, right? And of course the protagonist. Here's example number 2. As the years passed, the blobfish seemed to follow me wherever I went, showing up on my phone late at night in memes about the blobfish looking like how I feel on Mondays, or mocking certain politicians. Over time, my perception of the blobfish began to change. Almost unconsciously, I started nodding along with those who maligned its looks. Light reading on the blobfish only reinforced this take. Not only was it ugly, but it was also a bottom feeder, floating above the ocean floor, passively waiting for deep sea snacks to pass by. Maybe the blobfish wasn't special. Maybe it was just ugly and lazy. So this one, a little different. The protagonist is talking about his connection to the blobfish, and his status quo is just like, oh, okay, I'm not loving the blobfish right now. That's where his story is starting. One more status quo. Honestly, I have no one but myself to blame for my inordinate amounts of stress. From a young age, I was obsessed with the idea of making it. My parents grew up in rural Myanmar, and my father was often gone for weeks at a time, working hard to secure assignments and promotions that would eventually land us in America. For the first half of my life, my father was a near mythical figure, someone I knew was important but was almost abstract. After moving to America, I knew I had to not only succeed, but exceed expectations in order to make my family's sacrifices worth it. So starting in 6th grade, I turned to the stock market. By day, I'd sit in the stale fluorescent lights of my math class, and by night I was hoping, wishing, praying to see those angelic green pixels from the dim glow of the Robinhood app, signifying a bullish trend for the next day. By high school, I was entranced by my hobby's potential, yet victimized by its volatility. Every peak and pit would yank and poke at my mind. Each hill and valley in a stock's price reflected a chart-like landscape of my emotions. This one is a little bit of a longer overview. So it's going from this protagonist's childhood to high school, basically just placing us in where his mindset is when he's about to start this story that is his challenge, that is his personal growth. So he's told us the background, and then he's told us, okay, this is what happened. I was doing the stock market, and here's how it was affecting me at the time. And he tells us all that before we can understand the story he's about to tell us. Do you have a good idea what the status quo is now? Feel free to leave a comment if you have some more questions. And let's write it together. Remember, you want to explain to the reader what life was like before your story, before that personal growth and internal change that you're going to tell them about, that's going to portray you as the perfect college applicant. So before you're the perfect college applicant, who were you then? So you'll want to pull up your document from before and read over your hook for a moment before you write your status quo, because you want to start at the right spot, right? And I'm going to give us 5 minutes to do this. Of course, if you need more time, you can always pause the video and write for longer. 5 minutes. Let's go. Oops, I didn't hit it. I still didn't hit it. Okay, let's go. there's our timer. Just switching one word to make it more accurate. Okay. All right, so I hope you guys will share with me what you've all come up with, but I'm gonna share mine with you. If you recall, I'm writing about training my reactive dog. And if you wanna hear my hook, you can go back and watch the video from 2 weeks ago. Okay. I adopted Mr. Bingley in 2020 at the height of COVID. He was incredibly sweet when we first met and continued to be loving and cuddly as he trusted me more and more. But 2 weeks after adoption, he began to react to strange humans and dogs. At first, it was barking at them as they walked by the house, then responding aggressively when he heard the metallic clank of our mailbox closing. By the time I graduated college and moved in with my sister, he couldn't watch a large dog walk on the other side of the street without throwing his 14-pound body against his collar, spitting doggy profanity. All right. There's my status quo. So in 2 weeks, we're gonna start on the 3rd paragraph of your essay, which is the inciting incident. That's what really jumpstarts your whole story, your personal growth, the really beginning of when you realize there needs to be a change, right? So I hope to see you guys back here in 2 weeks. Bye.